Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another Arsenal masterclass against Real Madrid. Most teams can't do that once in a season in the Champions League against this Madrid side. Arsenal have just gone and done it in back-to-back games. Now, of course, as we would expect, this was a slightly different match to what we saw in the first leg. Arsenal didn't need to take the game to Real Madrid. They had the 3-goal lead already, so they were quite comfortable sitting back. And as you can see in this game, Real Madrid had much more possession than what they did in the first leg. And that was because Arsenal were sitting off in a more passive, more defensive shape. But that's not a criticism, by the way. It's genius from Arteta. It's what they needed to do. They didn't need to open themselves up and make themselves vulnerable. They were more than happy in their shape, and we know that their shape is very good. The shape we're talking about is, of course, the 4-4-2. So on paper, this Arsenal team always looks more like a 4-3-3. It always looks like it's going to play like this. But in terms of the way that Arsenal defend, Declan Rice drops deeper alongside Thomas Partey, and Marino is going to drop deeper alongside Odegaard, and the two wingers come deep. The 4-4-2 is narrow, it is compact, it is so difficult to play through. And I think the narrowness of this shape is what's really important, because the wingers and the fullbacks don't hug the touchlines defensively. They are really narrow, really tucked in with the rest of their team. And if we quickly just take a look at one of these clips here, that is so difficult to play through. Look at the amount of Arsenal players there in the 4-4-2. Good luck to Kylian Mbappe finding our way through there. Good luck to you, mate. And this is the benefit that Arsenal had. They got themselves into this position with such a good performance in the first leg. It meant that in the second leg, they could go away to Madrid and perform like this. Again, here in the 4-4-2. And you can see when the ball is moved to one side, Arsenal all move to that side of the pitch. And then as the ball comes back into the centre, Arsenal are narrow and compact. It is, again, so difficult to play through that team. And as you saw for most of the night, Madrid couldn't play through that team, and that's because Arsenal did such a good job defensively. However, regardless, Madrid did still have spells where they could progress the ball forward, and they did find it quite easy to get into the final third. They did this by building possession in more of a back three. So the two centre-backs, of course, would stay deep because they're centre-backs, is what centre-backs do. And then we would see Valverde dropping a little bit deeper into the back three here, as the two fullbacks would move a little bit higher up the pitch, with Vasquez in particular really flying forward down this right-hand side. The problem for Madrid, and we've seen a glimpse of this already, was that they couldn't find a way through the middle because the Arsenal block was just so good, and we're going to come and look at some of these individual performances in just a moment. But the Arsenal block was so good, Madrid couldn't go through it. Literally, the only option they had was to go around the block and look to put crosses into the box. And we can see that in the numbers. Madrid attempting a simply ridiculous amount of crosses into the centre. Now, to be fair to Madrid, there were a couple of moments where they looked quite threatening in these situations, particularly when they could move the ball quickly. So quickly switch it from the left-hand side out to the right wing, Vasquez, the right back, on the overlap, then looking to cross quickly. This is where Madrid could be threatening. The problem is, again, Arsenal were just too good defensively, but you can see another moment here. In added time in the first half, the space for Madrid is out wide. Vasquez has his time to get his head up, look for a cross, swing the ball into the box, but again, in terms of when these deliveries were coming in, Arsenal were just a little bit too good for them. I think, realistically, the only threat that I would say Madrid had was when someone like Jude Bellingham could make a later run, sort of arrive past the Arsenal defence rather than just starting in the box. You know, let's say Vasquez has got the ball, Mbappe's in the middle, he's just standing there, right? He's not really a box striker, he's not a box presence, he's not a Joselu of previous seasons. So as the ball comes into the box, he's a little bit stationary, it's easy for the Arsenal defenders to deal with. When Arsenal looked slightly more troubled was when Jude Bellingham was making late runs, arriving into the box because the centre-backs aren't too sure who is supposed to pick him up. But I'll tell you who was supposed to pick him up. This man here, Declan Rice, and he did an incredible job of doing exactly that, following Bellingham literally everywhere. Now, these two moments that we're now going to look at are big in the context of this match and this tie, in my opinion. You can see Bellingham on the right-hand side making a late run. This, of course, from a deeper position. This isn't a cross into the penalty area, but you can see the run he is trying to make into that space. And Arsenal were in trouble here because Kylian Mbappe in the middle, if we quickly grab him here, is occupying the centre-backs. So the Arsenal centre-backs can't deal with this ball, which leaves only one man to do the job. His name is Declan Rice, and it just so happens that he is one of the best ball-winning defensive midfielders anywhere, maybe ever. I genuinely think he is that good. Initially here, he is caught out slightly, but his engine, his desire, his tenacity to get back behind the ball and make a simply brilliant tackle. And he did this all night. You can see his defensive action zone. Really impressive, protecting his defence. But I also think this one here is important. Very late on in the game, the ball is on the left-hand side, and I just want you to notice where Rice and Jude Bellingham are. Bellingham, as always, is going to make a run into the box. It's what he does. He box crashes. He tries to arrive late, use his size, power the ball into the back of the net. And this is one of the few occasions on the night where Madrid actually put a good ball into the box. But as this ball comes into the box, look who drops back to win the header. It's not the centre-backs defending in the 6-yard box. It's Declan Rice. And you can tell by Bellingham's reaction. Look at Jude Bellingham behind him. He knows that he had an absolute tap-in. Or certainly he would have if it wasn't for Rice. That really was the story for most of this game. Madrid having the ball, trying to break Arsenal down and simply failing to do so. Again, if we look at the defensive areas of Arsenal, it's very deep. It's very deep in their own defensive block. They are trying to make it difficult to play through, and they achieved exactly that. But I think what's also important is Arsenal won this football match. It wasn't like they lost 1-0 or they lost 2-0 and just held on, or even kept it 0-0. Arsenal won this football match, and for that to happen, they had to possess an attacking threat. So the question is, for Arteta really coming into the game, how do you achieve that? How do you have an attacking threat when you are playing so deep in the 4-4-2? You have, a few goal lead already coming into the game. You don't want to take unnecessary risks. How do you get the ball up here without taking risks, without losing it in deep positions? Well, you play a sort of old school approach, which is coming into the game again more recently, partly because of Arteta, and you just play direct. You play simpler football. You don't take the risks at the back. When you've got a goal kick, you don't need to try and play through the pressure. Let's go long over the top, particularly when you've got someone like Marino up there. So you're not taking the risk of losing the ball here. If you can go long, win the header, get on the second ball, you have gained so much territory very, very quickly without really taking any risks. They were never really putting their own goal at harm. And you can see this for the first goal here. The ball comes long from the goalkeeper. Marino is the one getting up to win the header. That's a target man. That's a proper target man, even though he's a midfielder. But he wins the header. Just a few seconds later, let's just count this. How many seconds later is this? 20 seconds later, he finds himself on the left side of the penalty area. Arsenal have got into this position, and not once did they risk the ball. It was very safe, it was very methodical, it was direct, and it was almost easy. It was quite simplistic, and Saka sort of ghosts into the penalty area from the right-hand side, and the finish is amazing. Very happy for him after the penalty miss. The penalty, maybe we won't talk about it, a little bit silly, but I'm happy for him to make up for it with this. Now, the other thing that was crucial for Arsenal in this game was that you have to have a threat from open play. You can't just rely on goal kicks, You can't just sit in your block here, wait for the opposition to shoot at goal and then go long from goal kicks. That's not going to be sustainable. When you're playing in your deep 4-4-2, you're making it compact, you're getting men behind the ball. You need a way of getting out, and ultimately, they have two of the best at getting out, particularly Bukayo Saka, phenomenal player. But I think Martinelli had a really, really good game. Question marks over him as a player. I myself have question marks over his true level, his true ceiling as a footballer. But in this game, he was immense. He did the defensive dirty work, dropping deep, being combative, making life tough for Madrid in these deep positions. But then he had the energy and the desire to burst forward. And when he's bursting forward, it's not about picking the ball up and, taking on these 4 Madrid defenders. Doesn't need to do that because Arsenal are already in a great position. All he needs to do is gain territory. And I tell you what, the boy done it. He done it from very early on. This is 6 minutes into the football match. Madrid trying to progress the ball. Who's there to win it? Of course, it's Declan Rice. Declan Rice intercepts the pass. And now, as you break with Martinelli, you don't need him to go beat all these defenders. Just get some territory. Get this Arsenal team up the pitch. That is what Arteta will be sitting there screaming. Just get us up the pitch, mate. Please get us up the pitch. And he did that. He carries the ball all the way into the final third, 6 minutes into the game. Now, if we fast forward a couple of hours, we've got something similar in the 92nd minute now. And that's a testament to his energy levels. Fair play to the lad, because the speed that he put on display here was really quite impressive. He gave the Madrid defence just no chance. But this is what you need in these games. Yes, sit deep and be difficult to play against, but you have to have an out ball. You have to have a way of getting forward. Bukayo Saka was off the pitch at this time. Martinelli steps up on the counter-attack, and again, he's just too quick for them, and he puts the ball into the back of the net. And really, after all the build-up for this game, Arsenal made it look quite simple, to be honest. Arteta made it look quite easy. Madrid were completely nullified. They had no threat, really, apart from the Saliba mistake. It was very, very easy for Arsenal. They win the game, they're through to the next round, and they absolutely deserve it. The better team over both legs. But can we just quickly mention Declan Rice again? What a player. We spoke about all his defensive actions earlier. Just amazing. And over the 2 legs, he was the difference maker. He was the difference maker for these 2 teams. The power in the midfield that Madrid lacked, but also that game-breaking ability that he displayed in the first leg. He, for me, got Arsenal over the line here. Outside of Rice, there were, of course, good performances. Again, Marino, Miles Skelly, I thought Saka played really well. There were lots of them that had good performances. But I think apart from that, that's all we need to talk about, because Arsenal found it very, very easy. Job done, on to the next round. We'll see how they do against PSG. That will be a very different challenge. But for now, they're through. So that's it. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, leave a like on the video, subscribe, and also check out my socials linked in the comments. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next one.